I am Dr. Nwankwo Tony Nwezigwe. I'm a senior research fellow, University of Institute of African Studies, University of Nigeria and Nsukka in Nigeria. Yes, I'm an expert in African studies, ethno-religious conflicts, and Black Africa, Middle East diplomacy.
But you're also from the tribe in...
Yes, I'm an Igbo by tribe. Yes, and by look at my attire, I'm a traditional Igbo chief. These are all insignia of royalty under the Igbo customs and tradition.
Yes. Could you tell us what has happened to your tribe since the colonial times?
Well, the Igbo before the colonial time, we were Republican. The amalgamation brought, we were Republicans with our distinct political organizations. The colonial intervention brought us together with other groups. And as an enterprising people, the Igbo, apart from the fact we have a culture of enterprise that makes it, that gives the first son the whole inheritance of his father, and the rest sons are forced to now move off, and that gave our people impetus to always move ahead and engage in adventures and enterprise. And within a short moment, we became the enterprising giants in Nigeria, dominating the commercial sphere. Educationally, the Yoruba were ahead of us because they had contact with the Europeans before us. But the Igbo now came up with that competition. We got with the Yoruba very well. By community, most of our schools, early schools, were built by community helps. Communities will build schools and invite missionaries to take over. They will build post offices and ask colonial regime to take over because they needed communication. So most of the developments, infrastructural developments in Igbo land, in the colonial period, were actually done by the people through effort. Communities contributed money to send their wards to overseas because they needed to have a lawyer, they needed to have a medical doctor, they needed to have an engineer like other people. So in that form, you see the Igbo moving ahead of the others. Before a short time, it was like the Igbo were now dominating the entire nation economically, and there arose a case, a kind of jealousy against the Igbo. Pogroms were there. Many communities were now rising against Igbo in the pretext of coming to the middle to appropriate their resources. But the point is that the resources have been there. You have refused to tap it. You feel too big, too honorable to tap it. The Igbo man will like to do the menial job to make the best profit out of it. And after doing it, the host will accuse the Igbo man of domination. And we had countless areas of that intervention, that ethnic intervention against Igbo, until it became so much in 1966, when the government was shaky and there was a coup. They used the pretext of an Igbo leader of the coup and carried out the worst pogrom in the world. Murdered millions of Igbo people in the north. And as a case, as a matter of safety, the Igbo decided to secede and then declared the state of Biafra, which led to a civil war that lasted for 36 months. And that civil war, actually shouldn't have, the Igbo shouldn't have defeated, if not for the intervention of the war powers then. And in fact, it remains a historical fact today that it was only Biafra during that period of Cold War that both USSR, Britain, and America agreed to suppress, just the same thing they're doing to ISIS. So they all combined to fight to suppress Biafra. And after the Igbo were impoverished, after the war, the Igbo came back, they were denied their resources, some of their landed property were seized. They started from the scratch. And within a short moment, they caught up and became dominant again within the economic sphere. And then we saw a recurring decimal of that attack, especially in the north, where the people are too lazy to work, where the people believe that God will get anything they needed from heaven to give them. And it continued. And that problem also was encouraged by the fact that the Igbo are mainly Christians, whereas in the north you have Muslims. So it was seen in a different view, in a different perspective. A case of Christians dominating Muslims. We came to a situation that whenever there was crisis in the Middle East between Israelis and Palestinians, the northern youths will descend on Igbo property and Igbo. So you now gradually see the connectivity between Islamic fundamentalism and Nigerian politics. And it continued until the rise of this Boko Haram. And the first victims of Boko Haram were the Igbo and their churches. Actually, when the Igbo had left, because in Nigeria now, not northern Nigeria, many southern Nigerians are no longer there. They've all gone down because of Boko Haram. When the Boko Haram now finished dealing with the Igbo people and other Christian groups, and they've now decided to descend on their fellow men. And that is why presently we get, we hear stories about bombings, suicide bombings in mosques, in markets, and so on and so forth. So it was like dog eat dog. It was like a case of you invite a lion to devour your enemy, and after the lion has finished devouring your enemy, and because the lion needed to live on flesh, it will now descend on you and your children. That is the situation we're witnessing in Nigeria.
But what do your tribe mostly engage in?
My
farming?
tribe, yes, but trading, the Igbo are mainly farmers, but mainly commercial agents. There's no nation on this earth where you don't have an Igbo man. There's an adage in a place that there's no land without the lizard. So there's no way. Here you come to Jakarta, if you go to the market, if you call 90%, if you call the whole Nigerian, 80% of the Nigerians there are Igbo people. You go to the United States, you go to Dubai, you go anywhere they're there, doing business. Intellectually too, there is no university in this globe that you don't find a single Igbo person. Because we see education as our weapon of advancement, that you need to be educated for you to effectively pursue your entrepreneurial adventurism.
So what do you as the tribe's chief?
Yes, I am the chief, I am the war chief, the Odogu of my town, Ibuzo in Delta State. Because here the Igbo are traditional people. In fact, the entire Nigerian environment, the entire Nigerian society is stratified, it's stratified according to layers of authority. At the base layer, you have traditional authority, which the British colonial regime did not tamper with, except that they reformed them in certain forms. You move ahead, you get the local with the three major tiers of government. The local government, you have the state government, and you have the federal government. So at the material base, the lowest tier, you have the local administration, the traditional rulers performing day-to-day management, settling disputes within the space of the traditional customs and their tradition, marriage, settling minor disputes, and even at times restraining people from taking stronger disputes to the government courts. And also, even there, we also try to retain our heritage. It is within this level that we retain our heritage, practice our custom, encourage our people to be proud of our past, and that explains why, all the way from Nigeria, you can see me still clinging to my elephant tusk, which is a sign of royalty. You can also see my cap, which is a sign of royalty, and the ego feathers, which is also a sign of royalty and power. And you can also see my attire. You can also see my beads, which also represents royalty. So wherever Nigerian go, the average Nigerian is a carrier, an ambassador of Nigerian personality. You can always identify. You get 20 Africans, it's easier to identify a Nigerian there because a Nigerian is proud of his identity, he's proud of his history, and he's proud of his customs and tradition.
You are a chief because of the family
Yes, I'm a chief because of family connection, not by imposition. Because yes, in my place, most chieftaincies, traditional chieftaincies like mine, are based on families. Some are on a hereditary, on primogeniture, that's hereditary after the father, the son. Some are family inheritance. In other words, after this family has finished reigning, the next family will get his candidate, and the reign is always for life. So once the next chief dies from this family, the other ruling house, we call them ruling houses. The other ruling house will now sit and decide who will now take the position. And in each ruling house, you also have people. It rotates within the minor families there. So within the ruling house, they will decide which family's turn it is to reign. Look, for you, you have reigned in previous one, your family reigned, so it should be for this family. So we have a systematic way of selection of chieftaincy that avoids frequent disputes over titles. So that is the situation among our people.
But then your studies is major in. So you are doing your studies in which area?
Where I am doing my studies, I am a historian by training, and I have my master's on Igbo history, culture in relation to the Nigerian wider society. Then my PhD is on Middle East Africa relation. The title of my PhD thesis was Arab Diplomacy in Black Africa, then subtitled Between New Colonialism and Paternalism. In other words, I was trying to look at Arab intervention in the light of the way we are now seeing Chinese intervention in Africa. Are Arab intervention in Africa a form of cooperation, or are they really coming as a form of another neo-colonial partners to replace the white people? And I took reference from, I used the Middle East conflict, the African intervention in the Middle East conflict as the basis of my research. The long-drawn diplomatic battle by Nasser and Gamal Nasser and other Arab leaders to cut Black Africa, to support Israel, to support Palestinians against the final separation, break of diplomatic relations with Israel, and the consequent breakup of Afro-Arab relations because of that disparity of senior and junior. So my conclusion was actually between Black Africa and Africa, there's still a disparity in race, disparity in culture, and a stratified nature of relationship. One seeing himself as a patron of new colonial, the other seeing himself as the colonized. So the African remains in the same pattern of relationship with the Arabs, in the same form they remain with the Europeans. So no difference between Arab attitude to Africa and European attitude to the Africans. That was my thesis, my findings.